Welcome to the Money Mentors Podcast.
Welcome back to Money Mentors. I'm Taylor Steward here with our other advisory and partner, Gerald Green. We're all enjoying this lovely snowy season, and we're only a month into winter.
Well, I'm pretty sure this is like the 7th week of January.
Yeah.
This has to be the longest January ever. I mean, are we into February yet? Have that calendar switch? I don't know anymore. I just look out and it's white everywhere.
It's just around the corner, guys. But I'm with you. It seems like the longest month ever. Always kind of does when you're stuck inside a little bit more or shoveling the snow.
Although the kids have had more snow days this year. Even my son, who's a student up at Northern Michigan University, has gotten 2 snow days this year.
Oh, wow.
They have, I don't know, 147 feet of snow up there or something like that. So they figured it probably could call it for a day or two.
Yeah, it is crazy right now, but I think we can make it. February's on the way. Spring will be here before you know it. We just got to get there.
Pitchers and catchers report in 2 weeks.
Exactly, yes. Look at Gerald over there, glass half full, always looking for baseball season. But we know it's actually a really great time of year to start getting some things done financially because, I mean, after all, if you're going to be stuck at home, you might as well start getting some of your tax documents together. We're going to talk about that today here on Money Mentors. But as always, if you're bored right now, talk to our team off the air. Let's get you started on a retirement plan at Mattson Financial Services today. You can give us a call about any questions you have about anything that comes up during the show at 800-536-8907. Or remember, you can take advantage of our retirement resources on our completely revamped website at mattsonfinancial.com. That's Mattson with 2 T's. Financial.com. And yes, guys, since it is January, late January, it is now tax prep time. And as you start to get some of those 1099 forms together, Morningstar's Christine Benz says it's a really good time for us to take a look at the tax efficiency of our investment portfolio as those tax forms come in.
Pay attention to the numbers on those forms that are coming in and see whether you are taking advantage of tax-efficient asset locations. So do you have the right investment types siloed in the right account types? With income distributions higher, with interest rates generally higher than they were several years ago, many people have more meaningful income distributions, especially from fixed income and cash holdings, that are taxed at their ordinary income tax rate. Ideally, you would have those holdings siloed within your tax-sheltered account types.
She makes some really good points there, guys, but I think, some of us are not quite sure how to shelter our investments from taxes, kind of silo them off as she's talking about there. So is that something that you help clients review on an annual basis?
Yeah, absolutely. And, tax efficiency isn't about avoiding the taxes. It's about controlling what you're paying and not paying more than you're required. Taxes are often one of the biggest silent risks in retirement, and they're still overlooked, right? So when we're sitting down with a new client coming in and we're reviewing everything, that's one lens specifically that I know I'm honing in on all the advisors here is how can we make this more tax efficient today, but also next year, the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road, and making sure that we've got the right investments in the right account, so we're not causing unnecessary, potentially like capital gains in your taxable account, right? We don't want to put a high growth strategy that's going to have a lot of turnover, which means a lot of short-term gains inside of a non-qualified account. We're paying unnecessary taxes there. So we want to look at investments or portfolios that are going to potentially defer those to long-term, or we're going to look to generate some tax-free income through municipal bonds and other things like that. We're going to let those growth strategies more so sit inside your IRAs for specific purposes. And so that's something, again, that we're always looking at. It's not a set it and forget it strategy. Markets change, your goals change, your income needs change, tax laws all change. So it's something that we're really looking at every single year.
Yeah, there's a lot of different strategies we can take advantage of, especially as maybe you've been accumulating assets and everyone's excited about, hey, I'm getting 4% interest on my bank accounts now, right? And if you've got $100,000 in the bank account, and you make 4% on that for a year, that's great. That's $4,000. We haven't seen that type of great return at banks for a long while. But if you're in the 22% tax bracket, which means you're roughly over $97,000 worth of income, that $4,000 in interest gets taxed as taxable income. So 22% federal comes off of that, plus another 4.25 state. So you're talking about a $4,000 gain in interest cost you an additional $1,000 in taxes.
Oh, wow.
So there's things you really have to start breaking it down. Like maybe that's a situation where we start looking at some municipal bond funds. So there's a tax equivalency where you can make that same amount of money but not have to pay taxes on that income. So there's a lot of different opportunities. You just have to be able to sit down and not just look at your tax numbers, but look at your investing strategy and how it feeds into those tax dollars.
Yeah, and things like that interest on the money market or high yield savings account or interest on an investment account, how's that going to affect the taxes that you're potentially paying on Social Security? How's it going to affect your Medicare premiums or marketplace premiums? So it all kind of trickles downhill. We've got to start with the investment accounts, and then we're going to look at it and say, okay, when's the right time to take Social Security? Or if you're already receiving it, how do we maximize that Social Security so we're paying less taxes on that? The goal is more spendable income, not just better returns. Of course, we want better returns, but we want more of that hard-earned money staying in your pocket, not being taxed.
Well, this is the real advantage of tax planning versus tax preparation. And there is a key difference. And I know you know that at Mattson Financial Services, but for our listeners who haven't really taken a look at that tax efficiency side of their portfolio and want to learn more, how can they do that with us this weekend?
Yeah, so if you're pulling together your tax forms right now and realizing how much is going out the door to Uncle Sam, this is the time. If you've saved $250,000 or more, we normally offer this to the first 5 callers. Because of the importance in the season, we need to make sure we're helping as many people as possible. So we're actually going to open this up for the next 15 minutes. So everybody that can call in the next 15 minutes will get scheduled for that tax review. We'll show you line by line where taxes are leaking from your retirement plan, how to fix it, no products, just clarity, and make sure we get you set up appropriately.
Our number is 800-536-8907. As Taylor mentioned, if you call in the next 15 minutes, we're going to get you on the calendar there at Mattson Financial Services. Come in and strategize with your money mentors in person. All you have to do is talk to our team off the air. If you get the voicemail, that's fine too. We will note down the time that call came in and return your call as soon as possible. That number again is 800-536-8907. Or if you want to go over some initial questions with our team too, you can always schedule that phone call through our website at mattsonfinancial.com. And guys, then there were 2. I know you've been watching a lot of football since, again, we've been snowed in lately. But the Seahawks and Patriots will face off in the big game next week, capping off the NFL season. And both at the pro and college level, certainly there have been a lot of coaching changes in these last couple of months, a lot. And, sometimes when I'm looking at these teams and their moves, it makes sense. Other times, I would say in the case of like the Bills, it does not.
I was just going to say Sean McDermott comes to mind.
Right? Yeah, let's just fire a coach who, has done really well over the years.
Get you to the playoffs every year.
Exactly. So this brings up a really good question for you, though, financially here. When might it be time to switch up our financial coach or advisor? I mean, is it when they stop winning with our investments? How does that work?
When I talk with clients that walk in the door and start exploring the options and what we do here at Mattson Financial, I always give them that honest opinion of what are they currently doing, right? You have to look at everything, not just the investment strategy, not just the tax. If you've got one person, and so you've got a team of 5 different people, you've got your healthcare professional, your investment professional, your tax professional, all of that, and you're coordinating all of that, that gets to be a lot. Who is your head coach, I think, is the way to take a look at it. Like when you have a question, if you're the general manager, are you calling the offensive coordinator or the defense, or you want to make one call? So really when we explore that possibility and lay out that blueprint for people that walk in the door and say, look, we're going to take care of all of this for you. We're going to be that point person. We're going to be your head coach. You're the owner. You hired us in order to do this job. Now let's talk through the planning. You can't control markets. You can't control what the defense or the offense is running that week, but you can control how you respond to it. So the biggest differentiator there is if you don't think you're responding or getting response on moving targets, maybe then it's time to take a look at making a change.
And a lot of times I've sat through these first appointments or second meetings with folks and we're going through the plan and they say, I really love my advisor. I've had him for 20 years. I've had him for 25 years, he or she. But he's just not talking about the income plan, the tax strategy, the healthcare decisions. What about when I'm gone, that legacy and estate piece? he's not bringing all of those things together. So while he's been a great advisor for us for the last 2 decades, growing the accounts, there's that big piece missing, and that's why we're here. We hear you guys so often talk about that enhanced retirement planner, Mattson map, that holistic approach. You guys are fiduciaries. You've got a tax specialist on staff. You've got the health insurance specialist on staff as well, and that's what we're looking for. We don't want to call 5 different people. We want to call one number and get the answer that we need. That's really what I hear most, is they've done great from us performance-wise, but we do think it's time for a switch because we're not getting these other things, and that's the phase of life that we're in now, and so that's why we need to make this switch.
It's very important because, as we mentioned earlier, a lot of advisors are not even talking about issues like taxes with you. They don't necessarily have a Medicare specialist on their team, too. And as Taylor mentioned, it is all there under one roof at Mattson Financial Services. This is a very different chapter you're entering when you're getting ready to retire or already retired. So if you want that second opinion from our team this weekend, a few minutes left on our special offer right now at 800-536-8907. Call in today. Let's get set up at the first visit and come in, meet the team in person, see what they can do, see what value they can add to what you've already been doing as well. Again, that number is 800-536-8907, or get to know us online anytime at mattsonfinancial.com. But coming up, plan to work longer than most, what that might mean for your financial plan as you get into your traditional retirement years, plus the unique challenges for today's sandwich generation, some of the pressures there. We'll talk about it next here with your Money Mentors right here on Wood Radio.
Want weekly lessons from your money mentors? Yes. Hit the subscribe button now and listen every weekend on Wood Radio.
Thanks for joining us here on the Money Mentors podcast. Remember, if you have questions, that's what we're here for. Go to our website, mattsonfinancial.com. You can always drop us a line there or find us wherever you are on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and more. Just do a search for Mattson Financial Services. Well, we've reached a period in time where a lot of baby boomers are reaching the 65 milestone. They call it peak 65 right now. And I know some of you might feel like you have to wait until 65, which is Medicare age, to retire, or maybe wait even longer so you can save up a bit more. But Market Watch's Rex Nutting tells the Wall Street Journal that it's not the entire reason that we see more baby boomers staying in the workforce longer these days.
There's also a longer-term trend, which is people are healthier longer in their lives, especially people who work white-collar jobs. So they're able to work longer, and a lot of them like their jobs. And so I think there's a sort of a trend for people to work longer into their retirement years.
But what do you guys see? Are there any downsides to working longer from a financial standpoint?
I think just like everything, there's the pros and cons list, right? Like, say you're 63 and you want to retire, and it's like, well, do I really want to pay that COBRA or marketplace insurance until I'm 65? So maybe I'll just push it till 65 until Medicare hits, right? But when it comes to, if you're working into your 70s, there are a lot of things to consider. Your Social Security benefits are going to be much higher, but you're also delaying withdrawals from your investment account. So now you've got RMDs to think about. Instead of, if you retire at 65, instead of having a 10-year period before you got to really start taking the RMDs, we're thinking about them, of course, and putting strategies in place to mitigate those. But if you retire at, let's say, 72, you got 3 years before RMDs kick in. And so if you've saved a good nest egg, inside of your 401k or IRAs, let's just say $1 million for easy math, your RMDs are going to be roughly $40,000 a year, give or take a little bit. And if you don't need that income, that's a forced taxable event. So we really need to make sure if we're going to work longer, that's totally fine. But how does it affect your plan? We need to look through everything and lay it all out there. Here's the pros, here's the cons, and how can we adjust that?
Right. Not only are taxes a big consideration working longer, but so does healthcare. Because when you sign up for that healthcare, that Medicare is looking 2 years back at your income. So if you're working and making great money and you still have maybe your spouse turned on Social Security, so there's income there as well. When you look at your total income picture, is working longer affecting what you're going to pay for healthcare even longer? So not only do you have to have the tax plan, you have to understand how it impacts your healthcare premium plan as well. Look at everything. You've got to have a plan. not just for investments. Hey, it's great. I'm not taking money out. I'm saving money. I'm still working. I love what I'm doing. Everything's, puppy dogs and unicorns until you retire. And now I'm paying how much in taxes? How much is my health care? How much are those prescription drug plans now? It can snowball quite quickly if you don't have a plan. So talk with your advisor who's creating that comprehensive plan. And if your advisor's not doing that for you, give us a call. Let's start taking a look at what things are going to mean for you in a couple of years.
I think the biggest thing, too, is just having that clarity. Like, if you're going to work longer and you're going to likely pay more for Medicare, it would be nice to know how much, right?
Sure.
Not just, it's going to be more here, more there. It's like, well, let's start putting some dollars to it so you can understand what that impact is. And I've also had folks saying, like, well, why am I still working?
Yeah,
well,
it might
that's what
change
we're
your
here to
mind.
talk about,
Yeah.
right? Like, you certainly don't have to be. It's one of those things that's different for everybody. Everybody enjoys their job differently, right? Some people would love to work until they just can't anymore, and other people want to be done sooner. So that's just something we need to take a peek at.
So a lot of people are like this. I mean, I'll look at Gary, he's loving what
Right.
he does. And so he wants to continue working as long as possible too. So there's nothing wrong with that. But again, like you mentioned there, it's nice to know what your options look like too, know what the numbers look like. So for our listeners who, maybe they don't have that retirement date in mind necessarily, but they do want to know what the numbers look like, how can they get started with us?
Yeah, so if you're sitting around working and quietly wondering, am I doing this because I want to
Yeah.
or because I have to, give us a call now. If retirement is within the next 5 years, be one of the first 5 callers, and let's see what working longer really means for you, your income, your taxes, and Medicare. We're going to run that holistic plan. You're going to walk away with a Mattson map and at least have that clarity and understanding where you sit.
Well, that Mattson map, again, complimentary for the next 5 callers right now, 800-536-8907. 800-536-8907. Or if you'd like to just schedule a phone call to go over some of those initial questions, if you're driving right now, just remember our website. It's mattsonfinancial.com. That's Mattson with 2 T's, financial.com. Well, I've reached a point, like Gerald, in my life where most of my friends are in their 40s and 50s, this Gen X generation. And I know a group of us were talking recently about the things that we now have to do for our parents. And most of us in the room had either made significant financial sacrifices or time sacrifices to help care for our aging parents. And while we all agree it is definitely worth it, right? We would never let them down. I was surprised by how many of us are in this situation, all of us in this room. So is this something that you see with your younger clients? And if you're part of that sandwich generation like I am, how do you make sure you still prioritize your own financial goals while you're also taking care of everyone else too?
Yeah, it seems, I'm in a similar situation where my group of friends or just my family themselves talking to different people we're stepping into that role more, maybe not quote unquote the caregiver role type yet. Parents are still fairly healthy and fairly independent, but we see it on the horizon. Mm-hmm. So once you begin to recognize it, you have to have the conversations because at a minimum, like you said, Jennifer, it is going to be a time sacrifice. You're going to maybe have to take more time away from work to help parents or take time off to bring them to doctor's appointments if they're unable to drive and things like that. Start having a communication with them and other family members of how you're going to be able to do this, because if you don't plan for it, just like with anything else, if you don't have a plan, if you haven't had a conversation, now you're just shooting from the hip, you're less accurate, and you're going to open yourself up to bigger losses, or you're going to take away from your own financial goals. Maybe not saving as much, not having the time to be able to retire when you want. Like all of this can roll up pretty quickly. So you have to have a conversation within your household of, as these things progress, how are we going to handle it? Who else can we lean on, or who can we collectively do this together with?
Yeah, I think the key here is that we always say, regardless, your plan has to be flexible because life is going to change, right? Whether we like it or not. And helping others doesn't mean you have to sacrifice your own future. I mean, I've had meetings with clients where they were planning on working a couple couple more years, and then they come back in and say, you know, my mom and dad really need some help. It's taking up a bunch of time. And I said, well, let's look at things and see, do you want to continue to prioritize that while you're working, or would you rather spend, you know, these next years being retired? And so we readjust things, we reprioritize things, and maybe they retired earlier than they actually planned on, so they could be there for their parents, right? Or all the rest of their siblings live out of state. They're it. That's the only person. So they kind of have to be that person. So we're going to help reprioritize those goals, adjust timelines, make sure that you're not going to sacrifice your own financial future and still enjoy retirement. But we're all a big family here, and family's the most important thing. So we need to make sure we're taking care of each other, and that's what we're here to help with.
And I think maybe the one good part of it, if you are in one of these situations, it does get you a little bit more focused on taking care of all the details for yourself. In my case, like, I'm looking at all the long-term care options out there because, again, I think, you know, my mom has us to help take care of her, right? I don't have children, so I'm like, okay, I got to button up these details while I'm still young enough to benefit from this. I think there is a positive in that it gets you thinking maybe a little bit younger in life about the seriousness of planning for your retirement years and planning for some of these what-if scenarios.
The simple fact of the matter is we're living longer. You know, our parents, I think about my grandparents, I didn't see my parents have to deal with that because of life expectancy. It was they worked longer and then they were retired less.
Yeah.
Now it's shifting. I see my parents who retired much earlier have a longer retirement. So now we as kids are helping them out as they live longer. I've got a family member whose parents actually moved in with him during the winter so he can help them get to their appointments and stuff in the winter. In the summer, they live at their home where it's a little easier. You know, we're in Michigan and it's snowy.
Yeah.
So,
to say the least.
Right. So, again, as things change, you have to change and adapt with it. You have to have conversations. You have to have a plan. Even if it's just a conversation, you set up a great plan, chances are that plan's going to change. But are you working with someone that's seen what can happen and how to adjust? That's the key.
And I think what you said, Jennifer, is very insightful. It's kind of that dry run, right? It's not you, it's your parents, but now you know the importance of that estate plan and having your power of attorneys in order and making sure that your beneficiaries are all set up and that person that's maybe the executor or successor trustee after you has all the tools that they need to step right in and start taking care of things in the event that, you know, you're not able to, right? So you get to see it and prep for ahead of time, and that's obviously what we're here to help talk with everybody about as well.
I'm just going to move in with my son and leave my dishes in the room and make my bed or pick up the clothes.
Payback.
Just basically what he did to me throughout high school, I'm going to do to him. I'm like, that's my plan.
Get ready, Porter. It's coming. It's coming. This is Gerald's retirement plan. But, you know, it is really kind of a serious issue for a lot of us, though. You do have this sense of responsibility. You want to take care of those both above you and below you. We talk about that, the kids, the grandkids, as well as the parents, the grandparents, that kind of thing, too. But if it does have you thinking about your own retirement, too, use our retirement resources at Mattson Financial Services. You can always talk to our team off the air, 800-536-8907. Or we have a lot of it for you online now, too, through our new website at mattsonfinancial.com. Check us out there. Again, that's Mattson with 2 T's, financial.com. But next, how one family's discovery of an old receipt is giving all of us a lesson on inflation and what getting a little bit older does to our views on bad news in investing. We'll talk about that mindset shift coming up next as Money Mentors continues on Wood Radio.
You're listening to the Money Mentors Podcast.
As always, we thank you for checking out the Money Mentors Podcast. And remember, if you want regular lessons from your money mentors, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and leave us a review, too. Tell us what you think. We'd love to hear your questions, too. Go to mattsonfinancial.com if you want to reach out to your money mentors there. If you wonder, too, why we talk about the impact of inflation so much on this show, our next story here this week is a perfect example for you. A Texas family recently went viral, guys, with their video after they discovered a 1997 grocery receipt that fell out of a baby book. So they went through this on the video here. The grand total for the family's order at the time was just over $155.
The total? $155. Okay. for all of this. Little Debbie's brownies were $1.09. A big yogurt thing was 50 cents. All vegetables were 25 cents.
Oh my gosh.
These are the little Gerber baby foods, 55 cents.
Wow.
A big Baird's large white loaf, like of bread, $1.26. Tortillas were $1.50.
How much is it now? Like $4?
Yeah, like $4 or $5. But anything name brand like Gerber, this is 55 cents. It'd be like $4 now, if not more. A Diet Coke 20 ounce, like liter, I guess, would be like 75 cents.
That's a lot of stuff.
Is a lot of stuff. I heard you doing the numbers there in the background, guys. So the Dipples say that same order, they did the overall tally, would cost them more than $500 today. That is 224% in less than 30 years of an increase in the average grocery bill. And wow, that puts it in perspective for you here. I know many of us, though, will spend about 30 years or so in retirement. So our money, that really shows you how it will have to keep up. I mean, 224% increase. How do you keep your income growing along with it?
Well, I've got a little different perspective on this since I'm old enough to go back 30 years.
Remember that
You're the elder.
Because
You're the elder in the room.
Yeah, right. And I look at, yes, I know what things cost. I know what that 20 ounce of Coke or Pepsi or whatever it was cost 20 years ago. When I think about that for a moment, I also think about what did my W-2 look like that year, 20 years ago. I guarantee you it is not the same as what it looks like right now. So
True.
Would I love to have those prices back? Yes, but only if I
You
can
don't want
keep
the
my
income back.
keep my current income. I was a broke college student at that point.
Yes, it was a lot of ramen back in the day, yeah.
Exactly. I know what those ramen packets cost, and yes, those have gone up. But it's all part of the planning. It is very important that no matter what you do, when you're starting to talk about retirement, and I've shown this to some clients that we've done plans for, I'm like, look, we can give you $50,000 a year, and it's the same every year, and 100% chance of success. But that's not realistic. You have to plan on your income going up year over year over year. You can't have a retirement plan that has stagnant income. And most of the people I talk with, they'll justify it by saying, well, when we first retire, we're going to do a bunch of stuff, but later on, we're not going to travel. We're just not going to have that ability. I said, you're right. You're not going to be able to travel as much or do those fun things. But what are you doing instead? You're going to more doctor's appointments. The cost of healthcare has gone up. Prescriptions have gone up. That lifestyle shifts from a fun travel, enjoying the moment, enjoying everything you've worked for, to now, I don't want to say more sedentary, but more as your health declines, the upkeep on yourself is different. So the lifestyle has changed. You have to plan for inflation is the short end of it.
Yeah, and I mean, you think about, like, in that example, like, oh, we won't be doing the vacations. That's true, right? But you're still going to be eating. You're still going to have a house. You're still going to have healthcare costs. And those three essentials are the ones that really rise with inflation the fastest. And so those everyday costs are what's going to erode at that portfolio or that income plan if we don't have it properly planned, right? Inflation compounds quickly, but so do your investments. And so we need to make sure that we're outpacing that inflation, that we have a cost of living built into that overall income plan, because a static income plan just isn't going to work. The only way it would is if you're skimping on your lifestyle. You're getting the same exact money every single year, but you're doing less and less with it because, again, those essentials just cost more and more and more. So we need to make sure that the income plan that we develop is going to continue to grow over time, protect your purchasing power, adjust during high inflationary periods, which we just saw not that many years ago. It seems like a long time ago, but back in 21, 22, you know. So income planning is about stability and adaptability, and that's what we're here to help with.
But a lot of people thinking about 30 years or more in retirement and keeping up with it, it seems a little bit daunting, especially when you're looking at things like old receipts here. So for our listeners who want to kind of map out what that looks like and how they're going to get that kind of growth over time, how can they get started with us this weekend?
Now, typically what we do is we offer this out for the next 5 callers, but because of this is such a hot button topic and we want to reach as many people as possible, what we're going to do is for the next 15 minutes, if you're a caller, we're going to offer to create this comprehensive plan for you, this Mattson map. Let's talk about what your goals are, what your income should be, how to plan for inflation, how to plan for expenses all the way, not just to retirement, but through retirement. So for the next 15 minutes, everyone that can call in, 1-800-536-8907. Let's talk about your current situation. You know, if you've saved that $250,000 or more for retirement and you're trying to put this plan together to be successful, give us a call, 1-800-536-8907. The girls are standing by to take your call. Let's get a schedule. Let's talk through this with you.
Again, that number is 800-536-8907. We're going to set that complimentary visit for our callers here in the next 15 minutes. Have the team at Mattson Financial Services run that Mattson map for you, showing you what that income growth looks like over time based on what you've saved for retirement. They're going to go over any retirement questions that you have as well based on your specific individual dreams, goals, and desires. Again, that number is 800-536-8907. Or you can always schedule a phone call too with our team off the air at mattsonfinancial.com. Well, these days, making investment choices, we know, is not easy. But if you ever wonder why it's sometimes easier to do just nothing, well, Vanguard's head of behavioral economics research, Andy Reid, had some interesting insight on Morningstar's Longview podcast recently, talking about their research on the ostrich effect. Now, he says researchers found that older adults actually have a positivity bias when it comes to news. So they may not log in to check their investments, check on their accounts when things are looking pretty bad.
The older you are, the more likely you are to avoid the bad news, the more ostrich-like you are. And so, the way I would interpret that is that, this is a way in which the positivity effect is manifesting. It's changing behavior. So older adults are deliberately avoiding negative information when it comes to their portfolio. Now, if they have a set it and forget it mentality, if they're in, a fund or a service or advice that automatically rebalances, it's probably not such a bad thing that they're avoiding their portfolio, especially during market volatility. On the other hand, if they're avoiding their portfolio and there's an opportunity to make a better choice, this could actually harm them in the long run.
That's the thing there, guys. I think his final point there. I wonder how many opportunities people miss out on just because they didn't take the time to check up on their investments.
I would say quite a lot. I hear that sometimes people come in, we're doing a review, and they're like, oh, I haven't checked my 401k because the markets have been volatile. It's like, well, we're on top of that for you, and let's talk about it, right? That's the beauty of having that fiduciary advisor and having that plan in place is you don't have to look, right? Because that's our job. We're monitoring the markets. We're acting when others are freezing. We're looking for opportunities during that volatility, but it's all a product of our philosophy and how we set those plans up, right? So you're retired. We've got 12 to 18 months set up in your income bucket. So if we see that market volatility, we know your income is good for at least the next year and a half. Right. And we've got these diversified assets. Maybe we've got some of those buffered indexes, or maybe we want to get into one of those at that point and jumping into those opportunity zones in the market. But that's why having that income bucket is so key, because your income is taken care of. That's the most important thing when it comes to retirement. So that income is now taken care of. And now we're in a position that we can take advantage of that market volatility and turn that into an opportunity for you because we have that buying power set up.
Yeah, that's the key approach is when do you chop wood? You chop wood in the summer, right?
Yeah.
You don't wait until the winter. So when the markets aren't volatile, when things are good, think about 2023, 2024, even last year, 2025.
We're in a 3-year really good stretch.
Exactly. So if you're not going in there and harvesting that growth, and not saying you're going from 100% stock down to 20% equity or stock positions, no. Scraping off that growth as it's there, what that's doing is, like Taylor said, it's either setting up an income bucket for you, so when you hit retirement, you have that money set aside, or it's creating an opportunity fund that when volatility hits, volatility is not a bad thing, it's an opportunity. You have to change your perspective on it a little bit, but if you're scraping that growth off as it comes on a fairly consistent basis, and I'm not trying to time the market, I'm just looking for those opportunities to sell high and buy low.
Yeah, that's how it's done. And I certainly understand wanting to tune out the news. Things are a little bit heavy right now. And, you don't want to be spending your time in retirement glued to the 24/7 news channels. But that is why you work with a fiduciary team like the one at Mattson Financial Services, one who is watching things for you, helping you rebalance, reposition when things change so that you can take advantage of these opportunities. And again, if you want that second opinion on your portfolio, we've got about 10 minutes left on that offer this weekend to come in and run that Mattson map with your team at Mattson Financial Services. So do that during the break here. Talk to our team off the air. Get a second opinion on how you're investing today, the tax efficiency of that portfolio as well. Again, that number is 800-536-8907, or go online, start there anytime at mattsonfinancial.com. But next, Wall Street firms are getting rid of more humans, but charging us more for trading at the same time. We'll talk about how that affects you and me coming up next, right here on Money Mentors on Wood Radio.
Getting you not just to, but through retirement. This is the Money Mentors Podcast.
Some of Wall Street's biggest financial giants, names like Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, reported a record $134 billion in trading revenue last year. Yet, at the same time, more of these big banks are slashing employees because AI is taking over more of their tasks. And again, they can do it in seconds, sometimes what we can do in hours. And I know, again, technology is a really good thing. I know use AI in our daily lives now, but when I have questions about my money or my investments, I think most of us still want that real human being to help with the answers. I don't know. I don't think the trust level is there necessarily with things like AI just yet.
Absolutely. I mean, AI is great, right? We use it all the time, even just as a search engine, right? You use ChatGPT just to verify things, but it doesn't give you that human connection, that trust, the feeling that you have when you walk out of your appointment here, knowing that retirement's going to be great for you and your family, and you have that human connection, that trusted person you can call when you've got questions. There's definitely a time and place for AI, and it's no surprise that the world is moving more and more towards that AI, but again, what we're here to do is to help leverage that stuff where we can to make our jobs more efficiently so we can focus on you. That's my favorite part about the first appointment is everybody's been very great about bringing in their documents. We send a checklist and all that stuff, but I'll spend, the first 45 minutes, sometimes, an hour just getting to know you. What do you guys like to do? What are your hobbies? Interesting career. How did you get started in that? Right? Like I want to learn about you because that's what makes my job so impactful is the connections that we make. We're building a big client base of essentially a bigger family here. And that's something that AI cannot do.
Right.
Yeah, I look at it as, we've all been scrolling on our phones, whether it's through Instagram or Facebook or whatever. You see these videos come up and you're like, this boat running ashore or something. And it's just so blatantly AI, it can't even pass off as real. Is it entertaining? Sure.
Yes.
I've laughed at a lot of AI videos.
Some are very entertaining when you see a big Sasquatch talking to a real person. Like those are funny, like a good sense of humor. But do I want that type of technology planning for me and my uniqueness and the uniqueness of my family and my goals and what I'm trying to achieve in life? Can it give me more information to make a decision? Yes. Do I want it making the decision at this point? Absolutely not. It's just not there, nor do I think it'll ever be there. It can't replace that human element. So, when you're talking about creating that retirement plan or planning for income or taxes, yeah, it's going to give you more information to help make your decision more informed, but you have to take it with a grain of salt at the same time.
And I do think it's kind of interesting, too, that these big banks, again, they're making more money right now. They're trimming that human element, though, too. Tell us about your approach, though, when it comes to, making those trades and helping your clients with investment decisions there at Mattson Financial Services. How does that differ from how some of these big banks are doing it these days?
I think the biggest thing for us is the information, right? AI is very good at processing information. And so when it comes to trades and stuff like that, we can analyze companies' financials much faster, and things might stick out a little bit more clear because AI is looking at that. And also it just helps in our everyday appointments, helps summarize notes and stuff like that. So we can make sure that wherever we can save that time, it's how can we then invest that time in you, our client, our families, and make your experience better. We were just at a conference a couple weeks ago, and one of the gentlemen actually was one of the co-creators of ChatGPT, and he had said that AI is not going to take over your jobs, but it is going to free up 25 to 30% of your time. Now, it's your decision as that advisor and as that person what you do with that time. Are you going to spend more time not communicating with your clients and going on vacations because you got more time? Or are you going to spend that time helping those families further, making that connection and making more of an impact? And I think that's what not just in the financial industry, but industries globally need to do is that human element. We cannot lose that.
Right. So when you talk about the cost associated with what we do and the fact that when, I see these banks laying off all of these people, but yet they're having record years as far as profits. Like, okay, where's that human element? Yes, they're saving dollars, but their trade revenue is off the charts. It's never been this high. So you have to put it into context. I love that we don't have those fees. We don't charge trade fees.
No commission.
Right. Yeah. We don't have those. When I move a client from Apple to Amazon, it doesn't cost them any extra. What I'm looking for is how do I maximize my time so I can look at those portfolios, study them, and make sure I have my clients in the right positions at the right time. And can AI alleviate maybe some of that planning or that information, aggregation of information to help free up more time so I can actually get into the portfolios and manage things more efficiently, more accurately? That's what's going to make the difference. AI can't do it for me. I have to know my clients, understand what they're trying to do, and make sure that we're doing it with the scope of work without charging more. Like everything we do, we're trying to cut fees. Even in my personal life, I don't want to pay for Netflix anymore. Maybe I'll go to Hulu or whatever it is, right? How do we find those dollars to get back more time?
Love that. And again, by reducing those trading fees, taking that out of the picture at Mattson Financial Services and cutting those all together, a lot of people understand, hey, okay, I do have a fiduciary advisor. They're not just moving me from one thing to another to make more money themselves. It is because it's in my best interest. And I think that gives people some of that level of comfort that, hey, I've got someone on my side. And Taylor, I love what you said about, spending really sometimes that first hour of that meeting just getting to know what people want out of their retirement plan. And that is something that AI cannot do for you. So for our listeners out there, maybe they've been working with something like a robo-advisor for the last several years, and it's done just fine in terms of investment returns because, well, after all, the market's done really well, too.
Hasn't had to try that hard the last
Exactly, yeah. Even the robots have not had to try very hard on that. But, they do want someone they can bounce questions off of. They want to know what their retirement plan looks like. They want to really dig into some of the details and how it will work for them. How can they come in and get to know our team?
Absolutely. So if you're retired or within 5 years of retiring and you've saved $250,000 or more, don't leave your future to guesswork. Be one of the first 5 callers right now to schedule your complimentary discovery meeting and receive your personalized Mattson map, where we're going to review those 5 pillars of retirement, right? Your income, your investments, taxes, healthcare, and legacy. We're building that together all under one roof right here in West Michigan.
And Gerald, you kind of mentioned it too. You really get the best of both worlds. You guys are using a lot of the latest, greatest technology, but again, you're taking that out of the client's hands so that they don't have to mess with things that they don't necessarily want to mess with. But you use some really cool stuff to help them plan for the future.
Yeah, we have to look at all the tools available as new technology comes out. How are we adapting to the new markets, the new information that's out there? How are we getting educated ourselves on a daily basis? And, I joke with Gary about this every once in a while. I'm like, how did you do this 30 years ago? Like, I think about all the technology I use on a daily basis to help my clients. And I'm like, I don't know how he was able to be so successful 30 years ago and build Mattson Financial like this, and it was just a lot more time, effort, and energy, and we're getting that back through the use of technology. So, but we have to continually adapt and put ourselves in the best position, the best educational position to make sure we're helping our clients the best way as well.
So we invite you in to see that difference for yourself. If you want to take advantage of that special offer, again, we're signing up the next 5 callers right now. In fact, our team will be standing by for a few minutes after today's show, doing that off the air, 800-536-8907. But take advantage of the resources they have for you at Mattson Financial Services. You're going to get really a comprehensive plan, a really holistic look at what you've been doing to prepare for retirement, how that will work for you over the next 20, 30 years or more in retirement. Our team will be standing by right now to take those final few callers at 800-536-8907. Or just remember our website. You can also sign up online anytime at mattsonfinancial.com. That's Mattson with 2 T's, financial.com. And be sure to join us here again next weekend for more lessons right here with your money mentors.
And remember, at Mattson Financial, our mission is simple: to help you and the people you love retire with confidence, because retirement isn't the finish line, it's the next chapter in your story. And we want to be on that journey with you.
Appreciate everyone listening, and have a great weekend.
Want weekly lessons from your money mentors? Yes. Hit the subscribe button now and listen every weekend on Wood Radio.
The opinions expressed in this program are for general informational purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual or on any specific security. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult your financial advisor prior to investing. Any past performance discussed during this program is no guarantee of future results. Fee-based financial planning and investment services are offered by Mattson Financial Services, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Insurance products and services offered through Lakeview Financial Group, LLC, Mattson Financial Services, LLC, and Lakeview Financial Group are affiliated. To find out if Mattson Financial Services is licensed in your state, please call 800-536-8907.